So are you still confused about what vibration plate is best for bone health? You're not alone. The claims and wildly different cost of different machines are super confusing. Today, I'm going to help to set the story straight on the difference between the relatively inexpensive devices that you can buy online versus the devices such as PowerPlate, the PowerPlate Personal, the PowerPlate Move. The question is this: is the value of the PowerPlate worth the investment? Can you get the same result from a product like the Vibration Therapeutics VT007? Let's check it out. Okay, so first off, I'd like to say a big thank you to my team who helped me to research this content. Understanding what's going on behind the scenes with vibration is really tough. There are wildly different claims from different companies. The research is challenging to interpret because of the complexities of the science and the different terms attempting to quantify the impact of the machines. You got on one hand, somebody like Dr. Clinton Rubin, who is part of the Meradyne company and device, saying that anything other than that device is dangerous and shouldn't be used. On the other hand, you've got experts who will only use PowerPlate that specialize in aging and osteoporosis, right? So it's very, very confusing. And then you've got devices that are priced at 10 to 20% of the cost of the PowerPlate, claiming to provide the same benefit. So, man, how do we make sense of this information? All right, so first, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I've made several videos on the research behind vibration plates and whole body vibration. The most updated one is here. So this video will explain why we've stopped recommending the Meradyne product altogether. And in this video, I'm going to focus on the devices that claim to operate within the frequency around 30 hertz and with 2 to 3 millimeters of displacement. These are the mechanical details that need to be achieved, according to the literature, in order to impact bone, specifically the spine and the hip. In preparation for this video, I met with Jay Tang from Vibration Therapeutics. This is his company. I had a great talk with Jay, and I think he's a great guy with a great mission. He sent me a VT007 to check out for myself. And my takeaway from that conversation is that Jay strongly believes that he can create a device that performs as well as a PowerPlate by the criteria set forth in literature. He's also enrolling clients in a study specifically for the benefits of osteoporosis from his device. So I love seeing an entrepreneur who selflessly is spending resources, time, effort, energy, money to prove that what he believes is real. And I hope he's right. And if anyone wants to be in this study, we will put a link to his site in the description on YouTube, and you can apply to be in his study, at least at this point. At the time of this recording, you can apply to be in that study on his website. So I was excited to try out the VT007. Our Osteo Collective community loves the VT007 because of the price point. He also has, Jay put together a really high quality educational website. He's really good at educating people on whole body vibration, and he clearly has a passion for whole body vibration, for the device, for the technology, and I think it's great. As an entrepreneur, I know you can always tell when an entrepreneur has a mission versus when they are driven by profit. Mission-driven entrepreneurs always stand out. I think Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, mission over profit. Those two happen to also make a lot of profit. But there's a lot of entrepreneurs who have not quite achieved that level, who are still mission over profit, that really, really make a difference. Speaking of our mission and our Osteo Collective, if you're not a member and you are looking for a community to help you improve your bone health, you should really check out the Osteo Collective. I am consistently shocked by the improvements I see in our Osteo Collective members. A link for that group is in the description on YouTube, and you'll find it in the show notes for the podcast. All right, so let's get clear here. I have a PowerPlate Move at my house, and I've been an advocate for PowerPlate ever since I got one. I took several pictures of the devices side by side so you can see the comparison. In full transparency, I am a reseller of PowerPlate, and I offer my YouTube audience a discount. We'll put that link in the description. However, I am also an affiliate of Vibration Therapeutics, and I have a code for VT007 too. So both are available in the description. And I hope you can tell that I really don't have a bias here. I really want to bring forward which one I think is going to be the best for our audience. So before you decide which one to buy, if you're going to buy one, please listen to all of this video because I get very clear at the end. I do think there is a place for both devices, but you're going to want to, again, hear everything before you decide on which one might be right for you. So I'm going to give you my personal opinion on the two devices and then dive into some of the data we found that can help us to drive the decision making. So first off, when you compare these two devices, you can clearly see that the PowerPlate is just bigger. It's a larger platform. You can tell that it has a grippier standing surface when you stand on the power plate versus the VT007. It's also taller, which could also be potentially a negative depending on your goals and your starting point. The feel of the two devices, though, is very different. The power plate has a much grippier platform. The entire platform moves. I have a video here where you can see I'm moving from side to side, and the entire thing moves from side to side and front to back. And they do that very intentionally because it is designed to do more than just standing statically on top of the device. The feel is very different when it comes to the actual vibration feel. And I'm going to explain the mechanics in a little bit. But I like to use the analogy between the two. And I've thought about this a lot. I've actually I drafted this and then I didn't record it for weeks because I really wanted to get this right. The analogy I'd like to use is a car analogy. Now, I'm not really a car guy. But I've been in nice cars like a Porsche. I understand that when you sit in a Porsche and you drive a Porsche, it is an experience, right? Like it is a machine and it's awesome. I don't own one, but I've been in one and yeah, they are powerful machines. They're incredible, but they're a car, right? So like another car would be like a Honda Accord. So like a Honda Accord is a great car, right? It'll get you to work. It drives well. It's safe, but a Honda's not a Porsche. And I don't think anybody's going to argue that it is. So simply standing on the power plate, it feels more like a Porsche, right? You're like, wow, this thing really feels like it's doing something, versus the VT007, you're like, okay, I feel something, but it feels very different. And I can't explain why it's different. I can, but feeling the two, you can't really, you're like, one feels more intense, but they seem to be doing the same thing if you look at the numbers. But the question is this: if both a Honda and a Porsche will get you to work and back, are they achieving your goal? If your goal is to go to work, yeah, sure. Will the VT007 and the power plate achieve the same goal? And this is where it gets tricky. So after feeling the difference, I went to work gathering the data, because asking my community members to pay 5 to 10 times for no difference in outcome really violates our integrity as an organization. I had to learn why I was asking my patients and my community to drive a Porsche when a Honda might get them to work just the same. But the truth behind this exposes why this topic is so difficult for consumers to understand, and practitioners for that matter. And again, I think that there is a role for both, but the devil is in the details, and we really don't know actually the definitive answer, but I'll explain where we are with what's available. So with the power plate, it is clearly designed for much more than just static standing. When we talk about a protocol for bone health, we literally say you stand on the machine for 10 minutes. Maybe you do a minute on, minute off. I'll talk more about that later. But you stand on the machine for 10 minutes, 5 times a week, and that's it. But there is so much more that you can do, particularly on a device like a power plate, because it's used for much more than improving bone density. In fact, the list of use for the power plate is really long. It includes bone density, muscle strengthening, injury recovery, rehabilitation, neuromuscular training, flexibility, circulation, weight loss, chronic pain, blah, 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 on and on and on. In order to achieve the best results, power plate focuses on creating what they call medical grade vibration. It's literally a 3D vibration pattern that is not just vertical. It does move up and down, and it's not a teeter-totter. It is different. The power plate literally is designed to create a harmonic vibration and deliver the exact same repetitive vibration, both frequency and amplitude, at every setting on every square centimeter of the platform. They really focus on the quality of the waveform as the most important component of the vibration. It really makes power plate stand out from all of the others, and you can feel this on the device. So you saw me moving on the device back and forth earlier. If I shift my weight to one side, I am feeling the same impact, literally, vibration frequency, is if I stand behind it, on the other side, on one leg. It doesn't matter. Since all the areas deliver the same vibration, you can use the platform like the ground. This is great for dynamic movements like plyometrics, single leg work, jumping. I was doing split squats with a barbell on it earlier. You can use it to perform things like massage and stretch work because it has a high amplitude and a high frequency mode, which is above and beyond what we might want to use for bone. There's really no guessing as to what is being delivered. It is obviously the Porsche in this analogy. Now, the VT007 has vertical displacement, so it's not a teeter-totter. It's not one of those devices. We don't like those devices, but it has vertical displacement. It has low and high settings, but there's a different center of amplitude for the low in the high settings, and the amplitude decreases throughout the platform. So it is not the same throughout the device. The platform also has a very firm feel. It's like standing on a brick. It's relatively rigid. One of the things I was actually concerned about from a safety perspective is the bottom of the VT007 has suction cups, which I could see could work really well on certain surfaces, but on my concrete floor, when I stand on it, it actually slides. And I know my floor is not ideal, but that is something that's concerning, and you'd certainly want to have some kind of a handle or be holding onto something when you step onto this device if it were prone to sliding like that, or put it on some kind of another surface. But the feel, again, of this device compared to the power plate is just less powerful. It doesn't feel like it's doing enough. So what are we actually feeling here? Now, I would argue in our car analogy, a Honda does feel different than a Porsche, right? But again, it'll get you to work. Does the difference really make a matter? Does that different feel change the potential impact? So let's look at the numbers, because one of the things I really appreciate about Jay's work is that Jay puts forward the information that we want to see. It's actually one of the most supportive websites of a device that I've seen on the market for when it comes to whole body vibration. So what I appreciate is that we know that we need to hit 30 to 40 hertz. That's frequency, number of times it moves up and down per second. We want to hit an amplitude of between 2 and 3 millimeters on average, and we need to hit 3 to 5 Gs of acceleration. Those are the metrics that we need to hit. And the website for the VT007 clearly states that the max amplitude is 2.6 to 2.8 millimeters. So it's perfect, right? It has a frequency that goes between 15 to 40 hertz, and you can control it with a remote control. It seems perfect, right? We could hit 2.5 millimeters with 30 hertz, and that'll give you somewhere around 3 Gs. So it seems like it's perfect. And this is where people will say, well, shoot, I can buy this device for $399 or $299, depending on when and where. And this is, again, potentially 10% of a power plate if you were to buy the Move, the most expensive version. So what does the power plate then have from a numbers perspective that can justify a 10x increase in cost? Well, the power plate has both low settings and high settings, and depending on the version, you can have an increase in frequency. So what they have, again, low and high. In the low setting, the amplitude is 1 to 2 millimeters, high setting 3 to 4 millimeters. The frequency on the Personal is 35 hertz. The frequency on the Move will increase 30, 35, 40. So there's 6 different settings on the Move: 30 low high, 35 low high, 40 low high. And you can really feel the difference as it cranks up. So it's really a pretty challenging analysis. On paper, they look very similar, but they feel very different. So why? One of the main reasons why, and this was totally new to me as I did the research for this, if you look at the way that these things are designed, the VT007 is a very simple design. That's why Jay can sell it for what he sells it for. It is a simple design, and that's his goal, is to say, look, let's break this down. Let's make it as simple as possible. It doesn't need to be that fancy or elaborate. It needs to do this thing. And he's created a device that does that thing. So it has a single motor, and it'll move the whole thing up and down in vertical fashion. It is very simple. The power plate, not so simple. Multiple motors, 3D pattern. It's a totally different feel because of that. The pressure response, though, is interesting. And what I mean by that is, when we look at the numbers, this is confusing in the literature because they'll say this device does this, this, and this. But they're talking about what the device does in an unweighted scenario, meaning that the VT007 will have those metrics that I shared earlier without anybody standing on it. So as you add pressure, it changes the dynamics. So the VT007 actually has a very nice chart that Jay put together and he published. You can see this on his website, and it shows, I have it right here, it shows that as you increase the frequency, the amplitude rises and then starts to fall. It does get to that max to around 2.5 millimeters, but it falls off as the frequency goes up. And then when you weight it, and in this example, they used 180 pounds, when you weight it with 180 pounds, that displacement goes down to barely over 1 millimeter. So now we're really not in that 2 to 3 millimeters of displacement. Now, PowerPlate states that displacement will change with load, but it doesn't give specifics. So we don't actually know how much it changes. But with multiple touch points, multiple motors, they tell me, and I would agree probably, that it is less than the competitors. So power plate is going to change less with weight than is the VT007 based off of what I just said. So where does that leave us? The whole body vibration devices, I think, are a great tool for simulating impact in bone and improving bone health. But we wanted to use a device that is both safe, but also effective. I've previously compared power plate to Meradyne, and to refresh your memory, the Meradyne device has a footprint like a scale, like a simple bathroom scale. It's tiny, it's easy to use. It has a similar frequency as power plate and VT007, but the amplitude is very small, 0.2 millimeters on average. Now, the research is deceiving, but my interpretation is that it is not effective for bone density at the hip and spine. They've tried very hard to prove that it is adequate, and thanks to that research, we know that the answer is it's not. So it just isn't enough of a stimulus. The displacement is too small. Comparatively, if you look at the 2008 Ruan study, they showed impressive results. In 6 months, 4.3% and 3.2% increase in BMD at the spine and hip. Wow, that's a lot. At 6 months, that's amazing. 10 minutes a day, 5 days a week, amplitude of 5 millimeters. That's kind of a lot, right? So that's a lot of G's. Now, did they notice that they had any negatives? Were there a lot of complications in that? There weren't. But it brings up an important point. In my last video, we made the recommendation to use an alternating 1 minute on and 1 minute off protocol. And this is still our protocol. The PowerPlate personal device runs literally for 30 or 60 seconds so that it'll stop and you can take a break and then you get back on. However, we've been looking at the literature and working with PowerPlate as a company to really review, like, what does the evidence really say is best? Is it 10 minutes continuously? Is it 1 minute on, 1 minute off? And ultimately, the reason why this matters is that, look, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, you would argue that, gosh, I've got time for that. But it does seem like there are people that have time for 10 minutes because they can stand on it, they knock it out and it's done. But if they're getting on, getting off, then they don't actually end up completing it, which matters, right? So you're investing in this device, you want to use it. So we want to say, okay, well, we have a protocol that is going to maximize the benefit of the device. And we're actually updating our protocols now because I can't say that there's compelling device that actually supports the idea that we need to do 1 minute on, 1 minute off. It's theoretical. It's not bad to do it. I think that it's good that we can do that. But most of the protocols and the studies use 10 minutes straight. All right, so what to do? Well, we know that the Meradyne does essentially nothing for the hip and spine if bone mineral density is our goal. But a 5 millimeter amplitude device does a lot. Now, does it actually surpass safety limits? Maybe. The PowerPlate can hit 4 millimeters at 40 hertz. That's about as high as I'd be comfortable going with based off the evaluation from the safety data. And when you're standing on it, it feels like a lot. The PowerPlate is going to be impacted less by applied weight. The PowerPlate has been used in dozens of peer-reviewed publications. And in my opinion, PowerPlate is really the leading expert in the space. But again, a Honda gets you to work, right? Well, in this analogy, all I can say is maybe. Jay's doing the study, and I applaud him for that. Like I said, if the VT007 is only hitting 1 millimeter of displacement under load, and not even evenly at that, and I say that because clearly you can feel the difference when you're standing on the center of the device versus the outside of the device. The edges of the plate are going to move even less than the center, and he was measuring the center. So is it providing the results that you're looking for? We really don't know. It's more than the Meradyne, probably by 5x. So is it enough? We don't know. Where I land on this is, if you want a proven device that you can be confident is well made, will provide the benefit you're looking for, and is safe if used within the recommended guidelines, get a PowerPlate. I prefer the Move because it's so versatile and you can create an entire wellness program around it. If you want to buy a device that technically hits the criteria, then yeah, a VT007 does that. But my concern is that it's not doing enough. I'm confident that it's safe. I hope that Jay can prove that it's effective. But in the meantime, we just don't know. If you really want to improve your bone and you have the resources to invest in something that the literature supports, again, go with PowerPlate. So remember, for transparency, I'm an affiliate for both companies. I have no bias here. I stand behind both products. But you have to be clear on your goals and the possible limitations of the device. All right? So I hope you found that helpful. Let us know what questions you have. Please leave us comments. If you want to know more about the myths and misconceptions around osteoporosis, please consider our masterclass, totally free. Link for that in the description. Remember that osteoporosis isn't the end, but deciding to reverse it is a beginning. If you like this video, you should consider our best calcium supplements, most recent update, and also best diet for osteoporosis. I'll see you in the next video.